Hello, and welcome to Women in Business, where we interview entrepreneurs and senior managers and show you the strengths, successes, obstacles, and roadblocks women experience in business. Since I believe every person in business needs to be visible, I'd like to invite you to watch www.sob6, that's the number 6, tips.com, which will give you some valuable information should you get the call to be on radio or TV, which I think is extremely important. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at Gayle Carson, that's Gayle, Gayle Carson 13 at gmail.com, or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. My guest today is Laurel Lau. She's a digital nomad and executive coach, as well as the founder of Six Atlas. Together with her global agile team, she works with impact-driven organizations and purpose-driven executives to assess their innovation capabilities and adjust to take advantage of innovation in today's ever-changing global marketplace. Born in Hong Kong but educated in the U.S., she has spent her life navigating changing environments and cultural expectations, and she taps into the lessons she's learned as she works to empower conscious leadership in her clients to best serve their organizations in a world of innovation. Welcome to the show, Laurel.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Wow. Well, you're a mover, a rounder, and a shaker upper. So we're going to have an interesting time today. You talk about conscious leadership training. Now, not sure exactly what it is, so we're going to ask you about that. And you say it's 5 tips for creating a more innovative culture with phenomenal employee engagement. Now, certainly we need that today. People are very not at ease in terms of, will my job be there when I go back? Is there something new happening? How will artificial intelligence and robots take over my work? So give us your viewpoint on conscious leadership training.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with more of the story of why I think it's so important to me, conscious leadership itself. Being a woman, starting my career in engineering, working in startups, I just saw that there were so many opportunities for people to learn to lead and communicate better together. And it was from university, from my first jobs to working in NGOs. I just saw that there were so many opportunities that we weren't really relating to each other in a more equitable world. So I just saw that there is more opportunity to understanding each other with more empathy.
So what are some of the ways? What are some of the tips?
Yeah, so I guess what I'm grappling right now more so than anything is that corporations aren't dealing with just, they're dealing with more and more pressure to perform and deliver, and you can't really count on what's worked before and being able to create for what's required for the future. It's understanding what the new planet requires, and not from the old ways of thinking and not from what we've been taught and what has worked before, but totally constructing something new and being able to understand what are all the problems that we need to prevent from happening on the planet that we love.
So it's almost like looking into the future and saying, what will be. And of course, there are a lot of futurists out there, and I don't really know if anybody knows what's going on. Although I did get an email this morning from one of my peers, and he was saying that this happens every 80 years. And then he went on to explain, and he started back in the, I think, 1600s or 1700s, how every 80 years there was this catastrophe of some sort, and it changed how we operated and what we did. So you're kind of working in that future space, and what are your clients saying to you?
So I was preparing a Chinese company with with moving into more of digital e-commerce, but there were some basics that they weren't really handling well. And what they didn't understand was there was almost that the culture and leadership was locked into what had happened 15 years ago, and they weren't able to release that and be able to change that dynamic and to help people to understand, oh, like this is the way we should operate and how we should set a culture for data and for being able to cooperate better between departments. And so being able to see where it hasn't worked 15 years ago, coming in now as a consultant and just being from an outside point, having this outside point, it's easier to come in and see, oh, these are what's locked in in your communication with your stakeholders, in your dealing with the factories, that's preventing these few departments from working well together. And it's a very complicated process if you actually try to do it very according to the old ways of analyzing what is there in a very specific way, because we're dealing with so much more chaos. And so in helping them understand and pulling apart the problem, I was able to help them at least speed up their growth in being able to get like record high sales during March and April, and it's from the work that we prepare them for more digital e-commerce in the end of last year that has contributed to that. So you can't see into the future fully, but you can know what strengths you need to build on more so, and being able to know who you are, your identity, your team's identity, your organizational identity is so important now more than anything, and instead of trying to play someone else's role.
You know, it's interesting that you say that this is what they planned. You know, these are the steps they plan to take, and yet they're not taking them, or they find difficulty in taking them. So there's a dichotomy there in terms of what they say they want and what they're willing to do. So as a consultant myself, I can understand that it's got to be very frustrating for you, because you're tackling some deep, heavy norms, even though they're saying, it's almost like a kid saying, I want that lollipop, and yet we're saying you can't have that lollipop because it's not good for you, So it's like two different viewpoints. But you also there's something, and I'm not sure what this is at all. You talk about 16 lenses for looking at 66 innovation capabilities. Now, I can't even come up with 66 innovation capabilities. So explain that part of it, and also explain the 16 lenses.
Yeah. Sure. So I use a platform called Innovation 360. It's developed by the Swedish company that collected data of 1,000 companies on innovation capabilities, and being able to use this data set to compare and benchmark companies for their innovation strengths and weaknesses. You understand from the why, what, how of a company's innovation strategy and how it maps, whether it maps to what the innovation capability is standing within the organization. And so those, 16 and 66, I'm not going to explain, but that is the general concept of being able to come in and assess and be able to understand the where the company's at and where it needs to go to.
So you go in as a consultant to find out and assess where the organization's readiness is in terms of innovation. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. And what I see when I went in last year to do the assessments, how I would do it right now, it would be so different because of COVID and the upheaval it's created for organizations. So it's a different lens and a different outlook for how quickly things can change.
So let me ask you, Laurel. You're in a situation where you're kind of between a rock and a hard place because you're wanting to work with these people. They want to work with you, but everybody is kind of up in the air right now. Where do you see, or when do you see any of this changing? And when it changes, is it going to be different how you approach these companies?
I think there are companies that are already taken huge bets in what is going to work out for innovation, and at the start of March, and there are definitely a lot of companies benefiting and having winning strategies during this time. Um, there's always going to be winners and losers at the same time. I'm more interested in serving the companies that are facing more of their worst case scenarios rather than the ones that have a few winning cases. I just like more challenging situations to deal with in general, for creating greater opportunity and greater change for everyone involved. Yeah, so you mentioned that it is a difficult position to be in. And I think it's being able to reassess your situation and knowing what are the worst case scenarios you're trying to prevent, and also understand where you stand and where you need to go to. There are priorities that are coming in the way, and maybe you have more on the list to prepare for. Being able to understand that outlook more objectively is very important.
So that's interesting that you prefer to work with the people who are more difficult to work with.
Not more difficult, a more difficult situation, maybe. Like, yeah, I'm comfortable working with a difficult situation, not necessarily difficult organization, if that makes sense.
So yeah, so the people at the top of these organizations, who I assume are the people that you're working with,
Yeah.
they're facing tough times and they're facing tough decisions.
Yeah.
And how do you see yourself kind of changing how they think?
Right. What I often see in the mindset of the top management, when I start working with them, is that they see that there are so many different limitations, external, internal, and not being able to change the dialogue of what is actually happening. I think it's important to understand the story that they are telling themselves, and then the new story that they need to change it to, and in being able to change the mindset of the people itself. So being able to have a very holistic view in understanding where they got locked in as a story itself, and be able to release that story and create a new story, so that they can create a transformation within the organization is very important. Pulling on what they see as strengths in departments is also important. Seeing that it's easier to pull in opportunities and creating new opportunities when you have new technology that can really cut costs, that is really changing the game, and there are rock stars within the organization that's willing to support the technology and its implementation, and being able to change that and create more flexible future for the organization, and dealing with the workforce could be a great opportunity for some companies. And so it's really being able to leverage the technology and being able to understand creating that greater opportunity involved. And I find that when there is when there is a harder situation to assess, you actually get a very crisp idea of what the distinct opportunities are.
Well, you're facing a tough road, I think, ahead, Laurel. So I applaud you for that. But you also have another consideration that you talk about, and that's the multi-generational workplace.
Yeah.
I know you work all over the world, and have you found in certain countries that it's more difficult to manage a multi-generational workforce, or are there similarities?
I haven't made any big conclusions on this. I mostly consulted in China previously, and so for me, I think there is like such a range of culture. What people often don't understand is that the way that we live right now of usually more nucleus family is not the way that people have lived before. And so not having that connection to the land and not having that connection to that keeps us at a distance with what we're creating for the world. And I think that is an opportunity to be able to connect better within our communities and be able to create the right future for all of us involved that is more inclusive and that is more sustainable.
It's interesting. You talk about being primarily working in China, and I would think society there is the family in China is very close knit because they live together, they work together. So there's a lot of commonality there. Is the culture so that more respect is given to the elders? I know in the US, everything, because we're so technology based now, the innovation and so forth is really key to the younger generation. And even in the speaking industry, which I am in as well, they are now at conferences, they really are booking speakers 25 to 45 as opposed to over 50. So do you find that there is more of acceptance of the elder population in China, or is everything kind of being rerouted to the younger?
I think there's a huge respect of the hierarchy, whichever hierarchy it is, whether in company or in family dynamics, and so there is definitely more of like a respect for the whoever is older to you. In Korean culture, even if someone is a month older, you are automatically junior to that person.
Oh, how interesting. I never knew that. That 1 month can make a difference. Wow, fabulous.
Yeah. So I studied in more international communities, and I would always know in the school currently who is the oldest Korean guy and who's the older Korean lady amongst the group itself. And there's a whole hierarchy system of who pays for who and who gets invited, and there's a whole system towards that. I'm from Hong Kong myself, and so we are a little bit more, I would say, multicultural in some sense, or westernized, or I'm just a third culture kid in general. But there is a huge respect for the older generation, and of course, still the younger generation does try to create their own freedom. There is a different sense of, I think, opportunity in China. What has been created in the last 30 years that created a very different mindset of how to communicate with the younger generation, and a lot of the younger generation are also displaced for work, right? Like they're working in cities different from their parents, and maybe even their grandparents. So everyone is not living as traditionally as before in their setting of home and families that has been for generations.
Well, it's interesting, Laurel, because I guess it's the opposite in the States. I don't think the older population gets as much respect as they could and should. I think that many companies are looking, and I think this is going to really hit hard in the next many months. I think a lot of companies are looking to transform job positions, and that means getting rid of the older workers. And when I say older, they could be in age 50 and up, which is not really old, but it's older than someone who is less expensive to them at a younger age and has more technical abilities, you know. But it's interesting. So what would you say is the biggest complaint that you've heard from employees about innovation and the process of it?
So it's not as much about the process of it. I think at the start, when people start to approach it and they haven't taken a workshop yet, it's that they're scared that people can't be upskilled, and that they worry that people don't know how to collaborate better, and that these employees don't have the ability to be smarter. And so that sense of distrust of the employees doesn't empower them to contribute better. And sometimes it's because the performance reviews are based on very specific criteria that doesn't actually gear the employees towards the right goals.
Fantastic. Well, we have about 4 minutes left in our interview. In fact, about 3 minutes left, actually. So I want people to know how to get in touch with you. If you're interested in finding out what Laurel does and how she does it and all these innovation processes that she has, how can they get in touch with you, Laurel?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. If you search my name, Laurel Lau, you can find my latest book on Amazon. It's called Interplay. If you search Interplay Laurel Lau, you'll find it. And then I'm also on Instagram. Search the Laurel Lau, and you'll be able to find me.
So it's Laurel Lau, Lau. So, you'll know how to spell it and how to reach her. And you can go to LinkedIn and get her there. She is on Facebook at Laurel Lau Coach. And you can also go to Amazon and find her book. So there's a couple of ways that you can get a hold of her and, find out if she's the right consultant for you, find out some of her theories and some of the ways she works, which I think will be very helpful in this coming we don't know what time. So we got 2 minutes. What would you like to tell our audience, Laurel, that we have not covered?
Wow. That we are all okay. There's a better day at the end of this, and that this can be a more exciting time if we all look towards a brighter future. It all starts with the intent of being able to create something better together.
And that is so true. And right now, Laurel, you've got to be working virtually because, as she says, she's living primarily in Hong Kong, but she's doing this broadcast from Portugal. So she's stuck there because of all the various rules and regulations that are now up between countries and getting back to where she needs to be. But she's a talented young woman. And if you are really interested in how she approaches things, give them the name of your book again, Laurel.
It's called Interplay.
So go to Amazon, Laurel Lau, Lau, and she's the one to talk to about innovation and talk about getting your company ready for this, and how to deal with the general population that most of you are going to be involved with at this point. So thank you so much, Laurel, for being with us today. We hope you get home, and we hope you have a terrific time. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Gayle. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hi, this is Dr. Gayle, and I wanted you to know I have a whole bunch of other things to offer you. If you go to spunkyoldbroad.com, you will see an array of SOB stuff for sale and all our latest products and additions. If you're interested in getting on TV, I have a brand new course, Get on TV. And if you want to start your own business, you'll want my SOB Guide to Business Success. I know you'll love them all. I guarantee it.
Thanks for listening to Women in Business. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you have any suggestions as to who you'd like me to have as a guest, just email me at gaylecarson13@gmail.com. Be sure to check out www.sob6tips.com. And in the meantime, go to www.spunkyoldbroad.com to see the resources I have for you.